Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney video. Today I want to talk about a topic that I think has been one of conversation for a bit now, especially with a lot of the changes going on in the parks. And that is Hollywood Studios worth it? Is it worth going to? Is it worth making a part of your vacation? Or does it make more sense to just cut it out altogether, especially if you're going before Toy Story Land? Personally, I find it worth it, but I know that not everyone does, and I think there's definitely two arguments to be made. So I can easily make the argument from my side of thinking that it's worth it, and part of the reason is because I think that what is left at Hollywood Studios currently, in terms of the rides that are currently open and accessible, are some of the best rides on park property. I think that's the reason why some people still find the time to go. You have Tower of Terror, which is a classic, wonderful ride. Not only is the actual ride itself great, but the theming is amazing. The music, the atmosphere, the cast members, everything is just absolutely perfect. You have Rock and Roller Coaster, which is the biggest thrill ride that they have on property. You know, you do have things like Everest and whatnot, but it's not as thrilling as Rock and Roller Coaster, which has a launch, it has 3 inversions, it is definitely a true roller coaster. So that is a big appeal for a lot of people as well. You also have Toy Story Midway Mania, which is still relatively new compared to most other rides in the parks, and is an awesome display of what can be done with 3D, what can be done with a competitive model kind of ride. It took Buzz Lightyear and just like turned it on its ear and made it more interesting, and I think that's worth going as well. It's also really worth going if you're a Star Wars fan, because that is where you're going to find all of that stuff. You might be able to find some of the merchandise in other parks because they scatter it all around, but in terms of actual rides and things to do, all of your Star Wars stuff is in Hollywood Studios. It has been for years. It will continue to be with Galaxy's Edge opening up. But even right now, you know, you've got the stage show, and you've got Captain Phasma's marching in, which is amazing and totally worth seeing. You've got the launch bay where you can meet Chewbacca and Kylo Ren, and now BB-8. And you've got all these other cool props and stuff in there as well. You've got Jedi Training Academy for the young kids. And of course you have Star Tours, which is ever changing and adding new scenes with the new movies coming out. So if Star Wars is like a huge thing for someone in your family and you have a Star Wars freak that's just going to enjoy all of it, then you want to go there. I totally forgot I didn't even mention the Star Wars fireworks, which we have at the end of the night every night. So that would be a huge reason why you would go. If you don't really care for Star Wars, or you like it but not that much, then there's actually a lot in the park that you probably wouldn't care for, and maybe that would give you poise to, you know, not go or to cut it out of your trip entirely. I do think there's something to be said for some of the older stuff. You know, Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, while older, still holds up really well, and if you compare it to like Lights Motor Action, which came and went in the time that Indiana Jones was still there, that just goes to show you how great of a show it still is. You know, and Beauty and the Beast is still a fantastic show as well, but you know, people don't talk about them as much because they are old. Same with Muppet Vision 3D. Muppet Vision 3D is a classic, but I think if you don't have the nostalgia for it, it might not have that much appeal. It's definitely dated, it's definitely showing some of its wear and tear. The visuals are not as strong anymore, and so I could see how there'd be an argument for or against, depending on, you know, do you have the nostalgia for this show or not. And then, you know, the other idea is that it is just, there's not a lot to do when you actually get there, and for some that could be a positive. If you're park hopping anyway, and you just want to put Hollywood Studios in there for like 3-4 hours of a day and just knock everything out and say that you got it all done, it's really easy to do now. On the flip side, if you don't buy park hoppers or you just have a more limited vacation, you might really want to think about, is that 3 or 4 hours even worth it? If you don't have park hopper tickets, I would honestly say that it's probably not worth it, because now you're stuck at this one park for the whole day, and it just isn't even a full day park anymore. It isn't even a half day park anymore. So I think if you have park hoppers and if you have the time, do it. I think if you don't have park hopper tickets, don't waste a day there. I think it really depends, again, on what your interests are. Are you a thrill seeker? Do you love Star Wars? Is the idea of movies in general just like really get your blood pumping, and you love the idea of like being in a world of movies? Then maybe you would want to make time for Hollywood studios. If you're somebody who doesn't want to miss out on the classic really great rides like, you know, Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Star Tours, then you should make the time for it. But I can totally see the argument against it. However, come 2018, you're gonna have Toy Story Land. Come 2019, you're gonna have Galaxy's Edge, and I feel like everyone's sentiment is going to completely change. You know, as much as we kind of give it a lot of guff now for the way that it is, you also have to understand that it is the way that it is because it is becoming bigger and better, and it'll totally be worth it in the end. And I bet all the people who are saying like, oh, Hollywood studios, I hate it, whatever, are going to love it in like 2 years time. So, you know, to get to that positive change, you gotta go through a little bit of rough, ugly duckling, you know, era, but I'm sure it'll come out on the other end and be super amazing. So I would love to know if you guys think Hollywood Studios, as it stands right now, is still worth it to you. Would you cut it completely out of a trip? Have you cut it completely out of a trip? Or do you still find the time to go and, you know, get on Tower of Terror, get on Toy Story, Midway, Mania, maybe enjoy the atmosphere and the streetmosphere comedians? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to know what your feelings are on the park as it currently stands. If you liked this video, then you should like it. If you like me, then you should subscribe. Try to make videos every single week. And that's about it, guys. So thanks so much for tuning in, and have a great rest of the day. Bye.